Hello, boys and girls. This video is going to cover our third and final belief from our BBO, which is to own it. So we're going to look at what that means to own it, what the behaviors are that are going to help us own it, and how that can help us in making above the line decisions more often than not. And when you think about what it means to own it, I think the easiest way to relate to that is taking responsibility for your actions. Okay, sometimes we make great actions and great choices, and we should own that and take responsibility for that. Yes, I did that. Yes, my work helped me to get the outcome that I wanted. And on the other side, sometimes we have actions or make choices that didn't go so well, but we still need to own up to those and take responsibilities for those. Yeah, I did not get the outcome I was going for, or things didn't work out so well because of my choice. And the only way I'm going to get better and the only way I'm going to learn from that is to own it, take responsibility from it, own it. So then that way in the future, I can make better or more above the line choices. So let's get into what it means to own it. And we're going to switch the view real fast here, and we'll take a look first at the BBO. And on the BBO, when we look at what it means to own it, we go all the way down here to the bottom. Why do we want to own it? Well, the outcome tells us that we'll have pride in our actions and trust in each other. And to have pride in your actions means that you feel good about your choices. Okay. And we want to own that when we feel good about our choices. But we also want to make as many good or above the line choices as we can. So we get to have pride in our actions. If we're constantly making below the line choices or not thinking things through before we make an action or make a choice, chances are we're going to have some below the line choices that go through there, and then we're not going to have as much pride in our action. So we want to be able to do that. Okay, so how do we get to that point? All right, what behaviors do we need? Well, it tells us we need to think first, then act. Starts up here in your brain. Every choice that you make starts up here first before you actually give an action or make a choice. It's got to begin right here in the brain. Next one says find solutions, no BCD. We'll get into BCD, which stands for blaming, complaining, defending. We don't want to do that. We want to be a problem solver instead. And then the last one says to talk to people, not about people. Okay, so we'll go into each of those and what those mean and how those will help. Starting first with think first, then act. Okay, that's where you have to press pause, give yourself a chance to think first. Okay, and then before you make a choice, get your mind right and know the choice you are about to make. Okay, so there's a lot of different things that are going to happen throughout a day, a lot of events that come your way. And if we just react right away without ever thinking it through, sometimes we make these choices that aren't going to help us. Okay. It may be when something happens that makes us angry feeling right away, and then we act straight out of anger, and it wasn't the best choice that we could have made. So if you look on the screen here, when we talk about getting your mind right, a lot of that has to do with that middle image, which is what's called the mindset cycle. And there's actually another video within this classroom that's all about the mindset cycle and how it works. So I won't go too deep into it, but that talks about what you focus on leads to your self talk. And self talk is that voice that you always have going on. It's your brain talking to itself about things that you see and things that you hear. And all of that leads to how you feel: happy, sad, angry, frustrated, excited, okay? Which will then lead to your action, okay? Thinking first is when you get your focus where it needs to be, which can help your self talk, which can help your feeling, which then can help you make an above the line choice. Because if you don't think first, you don't control what you're focused on. You don't really control your self talk, which means you're not going to be able to control your feeling, which then leads to you're really not controlling your action. You're just reacting. Okay. And you're letting your emotions make your choice for you. All right. Another example of thinking first before acting: in the classroom. You're sitting in the classroom, you have a friend who sits across the room, you really have something you want to say to them, and you could just shout out to them, "Hey, this is what I need to tell you." But we all know that we shouldn't shout out in the middle of class. It's not an appropriate time to do that. Maybe recess would be a more appropriate time to do that. But if you don't give yourself a chance to think first, you might just shout out. You might just react and do that. But if you do think first and you thought in your head and you're all smart enough to say, okay, I really want to talk to my friend across the room, but if I shout out, what could happen? Well, one, I could interrupt the class and their learning. Two, the teacher might not be very happy with me, and I want to try and keep my teacher happy. Um, Three, my friend and I aren't going to be able to actually talk back and forth with each other. So maybe this isn't the right time. And then you would make your action. So you can think that stuff through, and sometimes it goes much, much faster in your brain as it did compared to what I'm saying there. So that's the first behavior. Figure it out up here before you make the action. Think first, then act. Behavior number 2 says find solutions, no B, C, D. So you need to be a problem solver. If you want to try and get the best possible outcomes you can get, all right, you have to be a problem solver. There's going to be lots of problems that come in across your day, all day. You can have little tiny problems that maybe you solve and you didn't even really realize you solved it. But there's just little things that may come across you throughout the day. And there's big problems that might take a long time to solve and take a lot of work to solve. Okay, but we always want to try and be problem solvers. Okay, if we're not trying to find solutions, well, then the problems are always going to be there, right? So the one thing we don't want to do is fall into BCD, blaming, complaining, or defending. And this is not easy. There are a lot of people who go to that when something is not going their way, or if they come across a problem. They blame someone else or something else, they complain about it, or they defend what they're doing and don't really take responsibility for solving the problem. Okay. And all three of those are not going to do anything to help you solve a problem. In fact, they're only going to make the problem worse. And again, I actually have a whole nother video on this classroom that's all about blaming, complaining, and defending to go a little bit deeper into it. But let me give you a quick example. Let's say that you are on a soccer team and your soccer team lost a game. All right. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is we lost the game and we want to win the game. Now, if I choose to blame everybody else on my team, or even if I just find one person, Bob over there never passed the ball. All he did was dribble around. And if he would have actually made some goals, we could have won the game. I think it's Bob's fault. Now, that blaming, did that just solve my problem? Did we all of a sudden just win this game? No, we did not. Well, let's try complaining. Okay. We never win. We're not good enough, and the referees sometimes don't make the best calls, and it's just so hard to win a game. And all that complaining, did that solve my problem? Did we all of a sudden win the game? Nope, that's not helping. So we can try defending. Say, well, I did everything I needed to do. I was running around really hard, and if they would have passed me the ball, I would have been able to score it. And if I'm not just defending what I did we win the game? No. So the point is, you have to focus on what is it that we need to do to start working towards our outcome of winning? What's going to make us better? Okay. What work can we put in? What practice can we do as a team to be able to work together and score more goals? Or how much do we have to run during practice so that way we're not getting as tired during the game? So there's ways to try and work towards solving the problem. And BCD is not going to do anything to help you with that. And then finally, the last one is talk to people, not about people. A lot of problems that come our way each and every day are amongst people, us and other people. Okay. And the only way we're going to be able to truly work on solving those is we have to talk to those people, not about them. We have to help build trust in each other. Because if we're having a problem with somebody else, okay, let's say I'm going to use the name Bob again. Let's say I'm having a problem with Bob, but I go over here and I talk with Sally and Joe. Is that helping me solve my problem with Bob? I may ask them for advice, Sally and Joe, but if I'm just going to go talk to them about Bob the whole time, the actual problem with Bob is still there. I need to talk to him, not about him. Okay. Maybe I heard that he called me a name. Maybe a friend in my class came up to me and said, "Hey, I heard Bob called you a name." I might not like that. That could hurt my feelings. So instead of me going and talking to Sally and Joe, well, Bob called me a name, and you know what? I think maybe he's the big meanie who's going around and spreading rumors. And all of a sudden, all I'm doing is making the problem a little bit bigger because I'm bringing more and more people into the problem instead of trying to solve it. I got to own up to it and go talk to Bob, right? And then that way we can start to build trust in each other and figure out what it is we can do together to help solve that problem. So we have to make sure we talk to people, not about people. So again, when we own it, we're able to say we own our actions and choices. We're able to say that we have pride in our actions and we're able to have trust in each other. Owning it means that you're going to take responsibility for what you do. And sometimes what you do is going to be a part of what a team does, what a class does, what a group of friends do, what a whole entire school does. So your actions can make a big difference and a positive difference, or maybe not so much, depending on what kind of actions you're doing on all the people around you. But it all starts with owning it first. Take responsibility from it so that way you can learn from it, continue to get better by it, and then that way you can always have pride in your actions.